All right, we got, what is this? We got why MMORPGs are so antisocial now from your boy Mad Season Show. Let me see.
Hey guys, what's up? Mad Season here, back with another video.
Is that Wagner Woes?
MMOs are a unique genre of game in the sense that they're one of the most player dependent. While there are countless multiplayer games out there where you can play with friends or strangers, it's often optional, and the game as a whole is designed to be completed from start to finish solo. And while there's much to do in MMO solo, they seem to be unique in the sense that other players aren't really even an option, but instead a requirement. Even if you're not interacting with them in any way, their existence is still crucial.
What the fuck is that guild? Let me ask my wife. Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, the thing with MMOs is, for the most part, I mean, a lot of my experience comes from either World of Warcraft, a little bit of Final Fantasy, what else? A little bit of Destiny, a little bit of Warframe, but I wouldn't really consider those MMOs. I would say still and like a little bit of City of Heroes and City of Villains back in the day. But I mean, for the most part, like the core of an MMO, for the most part, like 90 to 95% of the game, you can just play solo. It only becomes like a real thing, at least in World of Warcraft. Like the antisocial part really comes into play in that there are parts where it becomes integral to create like teams for like raiding or mythics or like M pluses or whatever, to play the M plus or like the quote unquote end game content, or like in like, for reference, for like classic, there were like sometimes you'd have to be, you were able to do group quests or whatever. So it's like, oh, a group quest. Oh, that's the part where I'm kind of incentivized to go out and ask for help. Which is fine, you know, end game content. You want to beat the last raid boss. You want to go really fast in the M plus 25. You gotta like ask around. You have to be good in the first place, and you know, prove yourself to be good. So it's not like you can level up like from like 1 to 60 or whatever like version of WoW. You can level up completely solo for MMOs, and like you saw like in Borderlands, like even in Borderlands, like you don't need to have like another person around you to level up. You can play the entirety of the game from like level 1 to, what was it, like 72 in Borderlands 2 was like the cap, and then you go into the OP levels. All of that can be done like solo, and there's like a thing for like MMOs, in that there's like a flex factor, like how much like hard ass shit can you do to just flex on everybody. And it's like, if someone can like get to like level 60 or whatever by themselves, and or without dying, in the case of like hardcore, like people want to like use that thing to like use that little achievement or accomplishment to flex on everybody else, to show like, oh, I did the skillful thing, I did the cool thing, and I did it by myself. That's fine and dandy. There's nothing wrong with that. The tricky part, I think, comes into play when the incentive of the game is to always, in most MMOs, is to get better gear and so on and so forth. But if that's the case, you're kind of incentivized to, you know, you reach a point, and then you kind of have like your like let's say your skill level is like here. You kind of have to be able to like play the game at a well enough level to be able to even like complete the raids or go really fast in the mythics. And Like one level 60 is not equal to another level 60. Like numerically, yes, they are equal, but skill wise, they are probably like the player playing that character is probably there's going to be some differences. And unless you have like a bunch of add-ons and shit to like tell you like this player has done this, this, and this, and this, there's no way to tell if that is like a good player or a bad player.
Which may not sound logical at first, but I'll ask you this. If every single other person playing your MMO quit and you were the only one left, would you continue to play?
No. It's the same question as like with the gym. If you were the last person on earth, would you still go to the gym? And if that person says yes, they are a liar. And if they say no, they're actually being truthful. Because the gym is solely like for cosmetics. Like, yeah, you could make it like the argument for like, oh, it's for health and all this shit. And like to some degree, yeah, I'll agree. But anything like excess, when you're like going into like bodybuilding territory or powerlifting territory for whatever, or like super heavy like calisthenic shit, it's like it's purely for cosmetic and the achievement itself. It's purely for like a flex factor to be able to flex on somebody.
Putting group-based content aside, such as raiding, dungeons, and PvP, the value of your gameplay is drastically reduced. Why would you get that ultra-rare mount if there's no one to show it off to?
Right.
Why farm gold if there's nothing to buy in the auction house?
Right.
Rare achievements to be proud of no longer exist because now either 0% of the players have them or 100% have them.
Yeah, I mean, in the case for World of Warcraft, you know, a lot of the, like, there are so many achievements are, like, pay to win. Like, you can just hire someone to drag you through Arena or drag you through an M+, or drag you through, like, a Mythic Raid or whatever. Like, those services are out there, they exist, and even with the WoW token, that's essentially Blizzard saying, we give up, we can't combat the botters, it's too tough, and you guys are just gonna buy gold anyway.
How much damage you deal, how good of a tank or healer you are, everything in MMOs is relative to your fellow player.
Yeah.
So if they don't exist, there's little reason to play other than to explore an empty world.
Yeah.
Nothing but NPCs to talk to. So.
And the reason you play an MMO is to have that social experience. Because if that wasn't the case, then you are better off playing like some single player game, like Witcher or Skyrim or fucking Monster Hunter or something like that. Go play like a Souls game. Go play like Elder Scrolls. Go play Armored Core 6. Go play like literally any other single player game, because the single player game of a lot of the single player experience of a lot of other games will just far surpass like the story of like an MMO for like the general population of people. Like, yes, you could argue that like Final Fantasy has like a fantastic story, but like, bro, that shit's long as fuck. All right, that's like 500 plus hours of like interactive gameplay. Like at minimum, most people are not gonna be too interested to invest like 500 plus hours for just like a single player story from beginning to end. Especially like an interactive one, like an MMO or Final Fantasy or something like that.
This relationship between the players has served as a core foundation of the genre since its inception. But despite this, something you hear quite often today is how antisocial they've become, or some would even say toxic.
Yeah.
Well, that's the what. But what about...
I think one of the things that impacts the antisocialness of like MMOs is that when players are incentivized to play with other players of equal skill in order to obtain a goal, you do that at the expense of the lesser skill players. Because there's a whole argument like within gaming, and this is even with FPS as well. Like, if you have the option to get carried through a match, would you get carried? Versus if you are really good at the FPS, would you be comfortable carrying other people to a win. You know, and it depends on like the FPS and how like soloable is it. You know, something like CS or Valorant versus something that's like really hard to solo in, like Apex or something like that. That's the what I think one of the like cruxes of the arguments are like, how willing are you to carry somebody that's like lesser skilled versus that, like, you ask that same question to like the lesser skilled player, like, are you okay with being carried, or do you not want to be carried, and do you want to just play, would you be okay with playing people of like equal skill?
What the why? Welcome to episode 3 of MMO Theory, a series where we analyze the MMORPG genre and its inhabitants. And today we seek to answer why people are saying MMORPGs are not as social as they once were. So the entire discussion of this video will be based around the following concept. If people are seen as assets, they'll be treated as assets.
Yeah.
And if people are seen as obstacles, they'll be treated as obstacles.
Yeah. That, I never really thought about it like that. Those are really good statements.
Commonly, MMOs during their early years operated on the weak tie interdependence model, which is a concept in sociology where other people who you may not even know are critical to your success. Maybe it's a tank you find in looking for group chat who tanks the bosses for you, or maybe it's somebody with the tailor profession who sells you bags for inventory space, or even something as benign as their existence is used as a marker for comparison of performance.
Yeah, those are really good examples. Like, you got like the TSM money bro who wants to max out like all 50 character slots with max gold, or there's the performance bro who's like, every time he like raid logs, he's like always trying to like boost up the numbers, and not only is he trying to like do like perform well, he's also trying to flex and try to shit on everybody else that's not doing as well. I mean, yeah.
If these people who you don't even know nor even interact with didn't exist, your success would either be hindered or halted altogether. And this model proved to be quite effective in the early years of the MMO. Because people were...
Oh yeah, I forgot. I did play this game. Fucking Star Wars Galaxies.
...dependent on each other. They were more likely to treat each other as the assets they saw each other as, which in turn opened up more opportunities for collaboration and interaction. So really, to understand why MMOs have become more antisocial and toxic, we have to analyze why people now see their fellow players as obstacles instead of assets. There's no one single reason for this, and our answers lie not only with how the players have evolved over the years, but also the environment. Another core pillar of MMOs is change and the unknown. It is a genre of game where the finish line is constantly dangled in front of the player, like a carrot, and when they take a step towards the carrot,
oh, that's me, I'm the sheep, oh, dang it,
it is taken a step away. Although today, it's a pretty transparent design philosophy. In its birth, it was pretty well obfuscated by the unknown and the intimidation that the genre once held.
This concept only became more clear with the internet and people depending on it more and more. I mean, just with, I can use myself as an example. Like, I'm always referencing like Wowhead or some YouTube video to be, you know, up to date on like the latest technique, strategy, whatever, the best weak aura, the best add-on to use in World of Warcraft or anything like that. Because if you're not using it, you are probably going to perform worse. Not saying, you know, that's like a guarantee, but chances are you are probably going to perform worse if you don't have like the new latest and greatest add-on to help you out with like raids or fights or whatever.
Players didn't have time to question why they were playing, nor did they have any reason to. They simply played because it was enjoyable and because there was something new to discover around every corner.
Yeah.
Familiarity is the villain of the MMO because unfamiliarity brings challenge and intimidation to create these dependencies.
Yeah.
In the late 90s and early 2000s, as technology improved and computers had started to become more affordable and standard to households.
God dang, that was a fucking $2,500 PC? 300 megahertz? What is that? Is that the hard drive or the fucking RAM speed? Or like what the 1500, 2000? Bro, like back in the day, Jesus.
People for the first time were able to interact from others from across the globe. Multiplayer games were common, but massively multiplayer games, where people explore this shared, persistent world and build these online communities and take on large-scale group-based content, was brand new. So it was therefore fresh, it was exciting, and it was unknown. Many reminisce fondly to the early days of World of Warcraft, for instance, where somebody is always asking for help on how to find Mankirk's wife.
Yep.
Or people are discussing the latest or upcoming patch. Server communities interacted with each other on the Realm forums, and guild chat was always active. However, just...
yeah, man. Like, back in the day, I remember being in Ventrilo, or it was either Ventrilo or TeamSpeak, when OG Wrath of the Lich King came out, and I think our guild leader, his name was Ted, and he was like a paladin, and I was a hunter named Pogo Stick, because like anytime I would see a hunter, they'd always be like jumping and like shooting and whatever. So I'm like, oh, it's like they're on a Pogo Stick, so I'm just gonna name my hunter Pogo Stick. And yeah, like I would always be like in the little group chat, just bullshitting, waiting for people to come on and go off. And bro, that's where I first learned about dubstep. There was like some dude, I think it was like from Europe or something, and then he like put dubstep on so everyone could hear it. He's like, and I was like, what the heck is that? He's like, it's dubstep, man. And I was like, whoa, wow, that sounds cool. Yeah, because nobody knew what the fuck they were doing back in the day. Nobody knew. Like people didn't share information as easily as they do today. Like yeah, you still had Thoughtbot and shit back in the day, but I mean, I didn't like figure out what the fuck Thoughtbot was until like the beginning of Wrath.
Just as how the game has evolved, so too has everything surrounding it.
Yeah.
And that same person who couldn't find Mankirk's wife due to the evolution of database websites now looks it up on Wowhead.
Yeah.
People are now chatting on Discord instead of guild chat or the Realm forums.
Oh yeah, all the information is out there. You just have to go and find it. I think what he's getting at is the games are solved way before anybody has a chance to like explore them. And you know, in the case of like classic like Wrath or Kata, like it's even more so, because even if like I think that effect of like all like new shiny, you have to explore everything is still there. Like when a new like expansion drops or something, or maybe like a new patch and like there's a new zone, like it kind of is there, but like within like just wait a week and all the information will be out there of like how to do everything, how to min max this, where to go for that, what's the best route for this and that and whatever. And yeah, you don't really have to talk to anybody to figure out where this or that is. You can just Google it, Wowhead it.
And discussions in the in-game chat about new content updates now take place in stream chats, or they don't take place at all, as there are now comprehensive, easily digestible guides released months before the new patches or expansions hit. Between database websites, data mining, guide culture, early access alpha streamers, these MMOs and expansions are solved before
alpha streamers. That's a new one.
Because information in MMOs is power, and power leads to advancement, whether that be player power, aesthetics, whatever, is one of the main goals of the players, to draw advancement from an online world. These third-party platforms provide more flexible and convenient ways to deliver information and in turn advancement, and they also connect fellow players without needing to be in the game itself, leading to a much quieter, non-dependent, and antisocial experience for those playing.
Yeah.
Because of this and the passage of time itself, players have become better and more knowledgeable.
Blackwing layer cleared in 42 minutes. Yeah. That's a speedy raid, man.
They've become better at their classes. They know what a dungeon is. They know what a raid is. They're familiar with a lot of the common raid mechanics. And they also know, generally, what the next content update holds.
In my opinion, I think it's become more polarized. Like let me see. Whip out paint, flashbang, pop. And then line, yellow. So I don't think there's two groups of people. There's, well, at least in my opinion, there's people that do play with add-ons and people that don't play with add-ons. For the most part, in general, if you play with an add-on or add-ons like DBM, Foji, Weak Aura, what else? Anything, Plater, you are making certain aspects of the game just easier to understand. And when you're like a decent player, so let's say this, like standard bell curve, something like that. That's like the 50th percentile. I think it's so polarizing that people will or will not play with add-ons. You either do or you don't know about an add-on. So like in the past, probably more people did not play with add-ons, but you know, as time goes on and so on and so forth, then chances are if you ask any player like in World of Warcraft, do you play with add-ons? Chances are they will probably say yes. I know that's not like the normal case with everybody, but this is just like what I'm guessing. Then like if you're a new player and it's like the cutoff is like you don't get invited versus you do get invited. I think it's polarizing to whether or not you get invited to like do like a raid or a mythic or some sort of group content thing. Like, yes, there are guilds that do exist and are kind of like in between and they don't give a shit. You know, and in that case, you can just delete this line and do like a one of these type of deals. But yeah, like the main point is it's like too polarizing right now, and even more so with like isn't there like a Warcraft logs add-on to where you just download it and you mouse over somebody in the game and it tells you all of their logs and like what kind of parses they have? I think that is hilarious to be able to just mouse over someone and be able to tell their skill. If I were to put that into like an FPS term, like FPS terms, like for like Counter-Strike or Valorant or Apex or I don't know, Fortnite, I think that's fine to be able to know if somebody is like a ranked grinder. You know, you have little things that denote your skill in the game. Did you get Predator? Did you get Immortal? Did you get Global Elite? Or so on and so forth from like a simple, like just lookup or whatever. But in World of Warcraft, outside of Arena, there is no like rank to your character to tell like how skillful you are in the game. There's just not like yeah, you can do like M pluses or mythics, but I mean, like I said before, a lot of those services you can just pay for. So I don't know.
And what's worse is that this wouldn't be as bad if the player base wasn't stagnant. One of the major reasons why MMOs became popular during this golden era was that they were unique. To be able to interact with strangers from across the world and build these communities and tackle these tough challenges was extremely unique and exciting. MMOs were one of the very first pioneers of social media, but as the online environment has evolved
Yeah.
and social media websites are more and more common, it's lost this unique appeal. A lot of its gameplay elements have also been adopted to other genres of games, whether that be the loot in an action RPG, talent points in an FPS, or a shared persistent world in a survival crafter. All of these things that used to define the MMO genre have been adopted by all others, so it's lost a lot of uniqueness in not only its social nature, but also its gameplay elements, and with it, it's also lost its intrigue and the unknown
Yeah.
it once held.
I don't know if there is like a way to bring that social aspect back outside of like the Star Wars Galaxies thing of like every class. There's like, well, in Star Wars Galaxies, there's like a couple different types of classes where you have like crafting classes that make things. You'll have like combat classes that are just exclusively combat, and you'll have like, there's this one class where it's like all like politician. I forgot the name of it or whatever, but like you can eventually become like mayor of a town or some shit like that. And then you'll have like buff classes like dancer or medic, or it wasn't medic, I think it was like doctor. Like outside of like an all encompassing like profession system that like relies on people to drive gameplay, I don't know if we can ever like get that back.
But that's not the full story here. It is a genre of game that offers rewards for commitment and patience to a player base that has increasingly lost commitment and patience.
Yeah.
Technology and social.
Yeah, if you want to commit yourself to WoW, you can easily like commit yourself hardcore for a month, get really good, download all the add-ons, know the rotations, look up the rotations, look up the heal rotation, the tank rotation, how to do the fight, and all this other shit. And you can go really far in only a month. But your patience for other people to learn the same things that you learn will probably not be there, most likely.
Social media has brought convenience and accessibility that we couldn't even imagine before they were adopted into the mainstream. But with it, it's also introduced struggles, because finding and consuming information no longer requires as much focus. People's ability to focus has reduced by as much as 50% since its adoption into the mainstream. A casualty is that game.
Bro, this is something that I've noticed like within the last like, I don't know, month or two, that it's just myself. Like I go to put like a movie on from Netflix and I start to just fall asleep if I'm just not like into it or anything like that. Whereas in the past, I would be like glued to a movie and hanging on the person's like every word, every scene, and so on and so forth. I actually have to like pause the movie, go watch like a YouTube video or something, get done with the YouTube video, and then come back to the movie. This is like crazy consumer bad habits of not being able to consume like long form content. Like Jesus. I wasn't like always like this either.
Game genres that are long-term oriented, such as the MMO, have suffered, and it's failing to captivate this new generation that's coming into the industry. The genre's player base is getting older and younger, so due to this diminished uniqueness and people's diminished attention span, it fails to bring in this new, unfamiliar audience, and instead retains an aging player base that only gets more and more familiar as time goes on, even on an individual level.
Sunk cost fallacy, the phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant, aka unwilling, to abandon a strategy or course of action because they've invested heavily in it, even when it is clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. My experience with sunk cost fallacy happened with Apex. I had to just simply cut myself off because I just simply wasn't like good enough on my own. I played like on M&K and put in like 3,000 hours, and I bought a bunch of heirlooms. I think I have like 6, 7, 8 heirlooms in that, and then it's about $500 in heirlooms. So it's like, yeah, I got a little bit of a buyer's remorse on that one, and yeah. So I realized at about the 3000th hour, I had to abandon it. I had to abandon Apex, and the same thing with World of Warcraft. Like, I don't have like a shit ton of hours in it like a lot of other people, but I played a couple expansions. There's like still like a little place in my heart for it, but I know the game loop. I know the social interactions.
The stagnation doesn't just come from its reduced capability to bring in these new players, it also comes from its inability to lose players. There is a huge sunk cost fallacy with MMOs, where you have people who've been playing a single one for years or decades even. For some, it's all about the moment, and experiencing them is the reward itself. But for many others, to jump ship and to play a different MMO, in a way, is equivalent to wasting this immense investment of time.
Was that like 1150 days? That's a lot of days, dude. That's a lot of days.
These games are almost constructed to be these virtual lives.
Yeah.
People have treated them as such. And they take
who needs the metaverse when you got WoW and Final Fantasy?
it very seriously, and they put a lot into it. So not only is the genre failing to bring in unfamiliar players, within itself, these new MMOs are failing to seduce this aging player base from the ones that they are quite intimately familiar with, due to how much they have invested into it. Familiarity is the death of dependency. It breaks this weak tie interdependence model that the genre used to be crafted around, and because of this, there's no more push to ask for help, to ask questions, or to interact with each other at all. And this itself has created another problem, perhaps in an attempt to attract this TikTok Zoomer generation into stepping into the genre. One of the reasons why MMOs now feel antisocial is that they're simply designed to be antisocial. It's undeniable.
The whole the random dungeon finder and whatnot, like, I mean, you could make the argument of it's kind of like this with FPSs, because in most FPSs there's like a solo queue version for either the pub or the rank ladder, and it's literally the same thing, except with MMOs you have to put in more time to understand your character. With an FPS, all you need is to just start the game, and your time investment is very little. You can just jump in, queue a random match, and just aim. All right, it's super simple. But when you have such a strong like tie to your character, even just to get them up to the max level to do like random dungeons and heroics and mythics and so on and so forth, it's just harder.
Interacting with other people is seen as inconvenient, and you see it evidenced in most games in the genre. Quests no longer require groups, raiding in dungeons are queuable at any time, mob tags share, features such as automated matchmaking and dungeon finders and raid finders streamline the process of finding a group, but often at the cost of meaningful social interaction. These systems tend to create temporary groups focused on completing content as quickly as possible, with little to no emphasis on communication or forming lasting relationships. It's all about instant gratification and getting dopamine where it's needed before this reduced attention span turns what could have been a lifelong subscriber to a forever uninstall. And so what this demands is a design that is simple, streamlined.
Your role, healer, the hardest fucking role in World of Warcraft.
And convenient, and reintroducing the requirement of other players to find success is not simple, it's not streamlined, nor is it convenient. So, all of this is to say, whether it be the environment around MMOs evolving and sapping away their social ability, whether it be retaining a player base that only becomes more and more familiar with them as time goes on, or whether it be the developers designing them this way They've become very antisocial. Gone is the unknown, and with it, the dependence. If you're seen as an asset, you'll be treated as such.
Yeah.
And if you're seen as an obstacle, you'll be treated as such. This weak tie interdependence system that these MMOs were designed around has aged poorly, as it's dependent on
Dang.
dependence. So as this
Yeah, I had no idea about that little strong tie, weak tie thing. That's new to me.
dependence wanes with increased knowledge and skill, so too do the social ties and etiquettes that used to encourage interaction and cooperation. And as a result, what you're left with is what is probably one of the most antisocial, social-based genres to exist.
Yeah.
Like the video if you liked it, because I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I dig it, man. And it's, you know what's funny is that I think FPSs have the potential to be like way more social than MMOs. Because how long are you with somebody in a match? Like what, 30 minutes ish? And depending on whether or not you think that person is like good or like they have like good vibes or like decent aim or whatever, you could just, you know, like ask them, hey, can I friend you? And like we'll queue together or so on and so forth. And like it's so much easier in FPS and also harder in certain aspects too, because the skills required are just so much more easy to obtain and more transitory across more games. Like if you're good at an MMO, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be good at all MMOs. Like it's just a niche skill to be good at any one single MMO, and it requires like a lot of knowledge of the game to be good at it as well. So just another thing, man. But who knows? Maybe we'll get another banger sometime soon. Maybe, maybe not. But overall, good ass video, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. So that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.